Now, SABC recently did an interview where they interviewed a man by the name of Kokota Bulufad. It's very popular. I think I've once reacted to one or two of his videos. I can't remember, when he was still doing interviews with Toho TV. And so it's a very informed Inyanga. He knows medicines, he knows whatnot, and all kinds of watches. Now, in this thing, for me, this is what I heard. This is the topic I heard. Now, I've once talked about this topic of people selling their souls through or via the line of ancestral worship. And it brings up the question of whether ancestral worship is of God. Because, first of all, your ancestors are not out there selling you to think it. But I remember when I made that video, we were talking about Mukuluoti. He's another Inyanga, very popular, known on social media. And he had made that comment, Uti, it's possible that one can sell his soul. But of course, he didn't say that. That's me saying that. And so, in this interview, they go back to that, okay? Now, I'm going to react to it here and I'll bring it up. I'll bring up the particular video and we'll look back at it. But the show is called Expressions, okay? The show is called Expressions, and it looks like maybe it was done yesterday or so. Actually, if you look back into the page, yeah, it looks like it was made or uploaded to a day ago. And so I will leave the full video in the description below. But this is what they were talking about. How young people and people are selling their souls.
We are celebrating Heritage Month and we are highlighting the practice Africa.
So they are talking about the things that are trending or the things that are all over on social media and so forth.
It's being popularized by young people, and that is Ugutwala.
So this particular subject of Ugutwala, which is being empowered or being put through ritual practice in order to have certain powers, or selling your soul, as we might call it, becoming popular, that's the topic we're going to talk about. And so that's Kokota Buluvalo on the other side.
Expressions.
Amen, Tombi.
How do you come into this factor of people twalaring or being empowered or being taken through ritual practice in order to be lifted or have special powers or whatever, ritual powers, in order to empower themselves for wealth? Okay. The world has changed. Everyone wants money. So he lists the various spirits which people come and take on as twalo, or a spirit that they are going to enrich themselves with. He says another person does it with a ghost, another person, a ghost of a rich person, another person does it with umkovu. It's different types of demonic jinns, basically, as you might know them in the Arabic language. All right, let's go on.
Omunye umuntu uzothwala ngezinye izinto ezihlukene, omunye umuntu uzothwala ngedlozi lasekhaya kubo. Yebo ngizwe kahle.
There he says it. Yes, he says, you heard me correctly. A dose. A person can twala with a dose. Being twalaring with a dose, I remember him explaining it in one particular other video where he said, it's where a person takes the spirit of their ancestor or this tuna or whatever sent to their household and makes the clothes to only see him and favor him. And so he takes the lack of all these other people and he faces it to him. He's once explained this entire thing. So you can twala with your dozy thing. Now, that brings up a very interesting question. If idlozi is your ancestor, why would he abandon the rest of your family? Why would he abandon the rest of the family to favor you only? If anything, if it is your close and they really care for you, they should be now offended that you want to do such thing. This one. Because he's selfish. He wants everything to be focused on him, and he wants others to suffer and struggle. So, but this tells you something. This tells you of the temptation that the devil brings to Jesus. Okay? The devil comes to Jesus, promises him the world, promises all things. So this shows you are not dealing with egos. You're not dealing with egos. You are dealing with a familiar spirit. But he will pervert the interest depending on what you like. If he can't get you to sell your soul to the Illuminati or Freemasons or whatever organization, he will get you to sell your soul to your ancestor, because that one you are willing to obey. Interesting point there. All right.
So Maltese spoke no tikoloshe bakhona balapho tikoloshe.
bakhona.
He says, the lady asks the question, if when you say Togoloshi and all this Tindani and whatnot, or Matindani, are they there? And he takes her outside to a certain housing outside.
Angithi ubonile nale ndlu ongene kuyo ngale mawungena esangweni kunale ndlu lemnyama.
So he explains that this house has some of these dubious behavior, dubious spirits.
Lencanyana leyo.
That small
Labaphila
house.
imikhovu lapho abafana abancane.
So there are things inside that house, that house you see, he says, which there are spirits that live inside that house.
Abayenza izinto zenzeke ngoba lapha kunomgodi ushona phansi. Noma ufuna uTikoloshe noma ufuna isipoki kodwa into esiyikhandayo siqale phansi.
So if it's a ghost, we have to start with it from the beginning. But if it's a matindani or whatnot, these things, they live in this. Okay.
Ngabakhubalo thizeni. Kumele hambe lethuneni lo muntu owayicebile andlondlobele.
So they must go to a grave site of a person who was rich and wealthy in order to get that spirit. All right.
Omunye simnika inyoka.
Others have a snake.
Sambe soyiphakamisa
Ingakanani le
ezibeni.
nyoka?
It's a snake that we go and we raise this thing. Now, we've explained this idea of these ritual practices where people are raising spirits or raising beings from the beyond. You see what happens with the Nephilim spirits in Genesis, and you see what God thinks about this matter. So this tells you this practice here, what's going on here, cannot be by the hand of people that are called of God. Unless you are called by other spirits. This entire thing, Oguti, they're raising beings and spirits, snakes and creatures and all these things. This cannot be by the hand of God, because in Genesis, we know what God says about such interactions. The Bible is very clear. God had a judgment over the world because they started having this type of practice where they were interacting with beings from the beyond. But that's where we are.
Angeke imejari.
You can't measure the snake.
Liphila ngasimo sani somoya.
It's in the spirit realm.
Khumbula mandulo usesemncane bathi ungayoswima lapha.
In the olden days when we were young, they used to say, don't go to this river. There's a snake there that takes people.
Bakunenyoka ethatha abantu. Thina yila siyakhona sothatha lo moya loya.
So those things that they used to say, yeah, that's where we go. We go there to get that spirit. They go to take a territorial spirit in order for that spirit to come and labor and work under them. Now remember, Satan has already said he is willing to give his. See, when you read the interaction between Jesus and Satan in the Gospels, it's very clear. It says, do this and I will give you all this. It says, worship me. The payment is worship. If you worship me, I will give you all this. These are diabolical things. This is not by the hand of God. And the interaction with Jesus and the and the devil shows you exactly that. But let's go back to the video again.
waleyo nyoka sithatha amandla wayo ngoba bese le nyoka izophila kuphi
We come and take the powers of that spirit.
phakathi kwegona kona lento esibiza isigubhu igona le
So that spirit will come and dwell in this small little thing that we will create, like this thing that you are seeing here, like all these things over there. All right.
baningi abantu engibanikile lento
There is a lot of people I've given this thing, he says. Example of who?
abafundisi ama-politician ama-musician
Says pastors, musicians, politicians, all these popular people out there. Interesting.
abosomabhizinisi baningi engibathwalisile bayaphila ngazo lezi zinto lezi
They are successful because of this thing.
noma uyi-accountant noma udokotela siyakwazi ukukunika lento le usebenza uyipresenta wini siyakunika u-outshine abanye abantu
So
uthi uma ubamba
basically, he says, even if you are a presenter, you are made to outshine other people. So you go beyond the place where God has put you to what you desire. And we are clear, what you desire sometimes causes problems because it has no interest in what God has set out for you.
lapha uma ukhuluma kuzwakala uthandeke nama-viewers wakho nama-followers wakho ishow oyenzayo uma ubroadcaster lapha ivele idume nje itrende
Your show just goes viral.
ibuze akusho ukuthi isithwalo yiyona isolution yempumelelo sometimes uyayithola impande sikuhlambulule sikugeze yeah it's a shortcut you understand yiye kwazi ukuthi into zakho ziphuthume fast bese ube right.
Now, what's the cost of this? He's about to tell you the cost of what your ancestors are doing. Now, I've said this before. It's not your ancestors. These are familiar spirits that are taking advantage of your greed to outshine, to be the one that's the center of the topic. There's a cost to it. So let's hear this cost that people are.
So lezi zinto lezo uyenza isivumelwano naso.
Whoa. Did you hear that? When there is formula, you have a contract, an agreement with these things. Clear. It's not. Idlos. Right? The same way he said, yeah, it's now clear that it's no longer idlos because you made a contract with something else. And so you remember the topic of selling your soul, it's exactly that. The topic of selling one soul, it's exactly that. It's vumelwano. This agreement with beings from beyond to get what you desire. Be warned that to each and every man his own.
Utikolosho ukuthi ndoda mina ngikulandela ukuthi la ekhaya uzongifakela imali.
So if you are getting itokoloshi, that's the agreement. I want money.
10 mina ngizokudlisa bese uzokutshena ukuthi thina ngifuna uhambe eklapini la umnandi khona la kugcwala khona la le ingane ezibiza ama-slay queen bese
So he gives an example of such an example where someone will take the spirit and will go use it, but he's given an obligation back to the spirits to say, when your thing is that you must go and spend this money. So they increase the greed of people by going and displaying their wealth. You see, us, we have the message of God. So we are going out to display the message of the gospel. Not ours, not our glory, not our message. We carry the message of the gospel. So this is why you have a prophet. You just don't understand. He's always talking about money. He's always talking. Yeah, Lo Muntu is being sent to pervert the church. You're an antichrist. You bring foreign teachings into. Why? They are there to increase the greed. Infuse the greed into the church. Be warned.
thola umuntu akuthengela utshwala be-100,000 bese akuthatha kusekhaya bese angalali nawe ilento yakhe izolala nawe ngoba ifuna yini iphila ngenhlanhla yakho omunye umoya esizokunika wona uwona okhulumayo ukuthi uzokunika maybe 7 years uphile nge7 years ayinto uzophila 7 years after 7 years then uyagone uyadead uyabuya.
So basically he gives an example of people who go and do these things or do this contract, and they're given a certain number of years in order for them to live with their success. That's the core subject of people selling their soul. They're given a certain time period. It's the core thing of selling your soul. That's exactly what has happened with a lot of musicians and so forth and all these things. You look at, they sold their soul for rock and roll. You hear, that documentary. You hear people talking about it. And it's exactly what he's describing. People are saying, no, God has commissioned it. Really? Has God commissioned this? Huh? Make a separation. It's not related. It's what we have continued to say. These things are not related to church. When you see people bringing ubungoma in church, be very careful, because now it's gone beyond. It's gone beyond. The intentions are clear that they are not of God. It's a contract with another spirit. Why do your ancestors need you to do a contract? Why? They are not your ancestors. You read the Luke, the book of Luke with the rich man and Lazarus. It's very clear. Those who are dead are not allowed to come back and relay a message to you or have any form of interaction. What you are hearing are different spirits, foreign spirits, but you have allowed them. It's the reality show with daily Christian commentary videos. This video, just a warning. For those that want to believe that, they can go on believing that, but we have no business with such things. If you are a person who has a desire to follow God, have no business with these things. Distance yourself from these things. Keep the gospel as pure as it stands. Don't allow people keep mixing and mashing and all that kind of stuff. Allow the gospel to stand in its truth as it stands clear. Don't allow confusion. Don't allow confusion coming from outside, coming inside you. It's Ricky. Love you to bits. I'll leave the rest of the interview down in the description below. You will have to hear the language because they don't interpret. Okay, interpretation is very hard, even for SABC. Okay, yeah, because if you have to put out interpretation for English, it takes a while to do that. That's why I don't even do it. If SABC can't even do that with all their budget, they can't hire someone to do that. It tells you, what about me? What about simple of me? Don't frustrate me. I know people like saying that, Ricky, don't comment, just SABC doesn't do it. Because it's hard, it takes time to do those things. It's Ricky, y'all have a good one. And I hope God helps you in your journey finding him. And I'll see you on later on other episodes down to the comments. Y'all.